So, just to share with you a conversation I had with some class 10 students I was teaching. So, this girl told me that I don't believe in God at all. So, I said, okay, do you believe that there are parts of you which you are not aware of? So a lot of the children said that, yeah, there are probably parts of us which we aren't conscious of. And this girl said that, no, I know everything there is to know about myself. I am what I know of myself through my thoughts. So that is really, then of course the conversation went on to that even if you don't believe in a God outside yourself, that undiscovered part of you, which is perhaps the best part of you, from which your intuitions come, from which your flashes of illumination come, if you believe that exists in you, that's God for you. And a lot of kids said, yes, sometimes we are also surprised by the beautiful thoughts that come to us or the ideas that click for us. So the point of this is to share with you that even for an atheist, if a person believes that there are parts of them which they are not conscious of, but which is really the best part of them, that is the God inside them. So this brings us to this beautiful piece Sri Aurobindo has written. If you open your PDFs, you'll find it.
If you remove that arm out, the wire won't come in the way.
So, the ocean and the river. First of all, we must note that what we mean primarily, what we mean ordinarily by man, is not his inner self, but only a sum of apparent, continuous movements of consciousness and energy in past, present, and future, to which we give this name. So Sri Aurobindo says that what we mean ordinarily by man is not who he is inside, but the sum of continuous movements of consciousness and energy in the past, present, and future, to which we give this name. We give this name Isha, Payal, Anahita, whatever. It is this that in appearance does all the works of man. This inner being, this inner self, which in the appearance does all the works of the man, thinks all his thoughts, feels all his emotions. This energy is a movement of consciousness force concentrated on a temporal stream of inward and outward workings. So let's read this again. As we know, if anyone tries to explain Sri Aurobindo, it's always going to be a poor job. But the best way to understand Sri Aurobindo is to read him again and again, and it comes to you. So I'm reading this again, see, it will make more sense the second time. First of all, we must note that what we mean ordinarily by man is not his inner self, but only a sum of apparent continuous movements of consciousness and energy in past, present, and future, which we give this name. It is this that in appearance does all the works of man, thinks all his thoughts, feels all his emotions. So what he's saying is that, like that girl, I started what I was telling you, that student who said that I know everything there is to know about myself. There is no part of me that exists in me that I'm not conscious of. So what she knows about herself is her thoughts, emotions, body sensations. But Sri Aurobindo says that thoughts, emotions and body sensations are a continuous flow of energy and consciousness, Purusha and Prakriti, which are creating this front which you call me. But there's nothing really personal in this. See, for me, in my ignorance, I am very personal to me, right? The more personal I am to me, the more egoistic I am, then the more touchy I am. Because to this stream of energy that's moving, if anyone says anything unpleasant, I take it personally. But most of the masters will never take anything that's said to them personally because they fully know they are not this. There's that beautiful story of Raman Maharishi where once there were devotees who were singing his bhajans, something Bhagwan Sri Ramana Maharishi, and with great ecstasy he joined in and started singing. And one devotee told him that Bhagwan, isn't it odd that you're singing with so much devotion to yourself? So he said, but you think I'm singing to this body. I'm not singing to this. I'm singing to the same one you're singing to. You're just calling that one in the song, Bhagwan Ramana Maharishi, but I'm not singing to this body. I'm singing to that one. So he was so completely aware that he's not this stream of energy that masquerades as him. Opposite end of the spectrum, I quoted the example of that child who said that there's nothing to me that I'm not conscious of. I am what I see and know myself to be. So, this energy is a movement of consciousness force working on a temporal stream of inward and outward workings. But we know that behind this stream of energy, there is a whole sea of consciousness which is aware of the stream. This energy on the surface is only a stream, but there is a whole sea of consciousness which is aware of the stream, but of which the stream is unaware. For this sum of surface energy is a selection, an outcome from all the rest that is invisible. So, Sri Aurobindo is saying that this surface being that we feel is just like a stream, but there is a whole ocean behind that which we are not conscious of. So, the sea is the subliminal self. Subliminal is hidden. The hidden self, which is made up of the superconscient, frequencies which are beyond our waking state, subconscient, frequencies below our waking state, the intraconscient and the circumconscient which is all around.
Which was the intraconscient?
The intermediate zones between these. And holding it all together, the soul, the psychic entity. So he's saying that you see this, but this is a stream. There's a whole ocean supporting this stream, and that ocean is made up of the superconscient, the God self, the parts of ourselves which we are not aware of, which are all-knowing, all-powerful, the subconscient, which have frequencies below our waking state, the intraconscient, which connects all these, the circumconscient, which is all around, and at the center of all this is the psychic being, the part of the mother or the God consciousness within all of us. शीला आ रहा है समझ में? थोड़ा थोड़ा हिंदी में बोलूं कि समझ में आ रहा है? अच्छा, कुछ नहीं आए तो बोलो, मैं हिंदी में बोलूं. The C is the subliminal self, the superconscient, the subconscient, the intraconscient and the circumconscient, and holding it all together, the soul, the psychic entity. The stream is the natural, superficial man. Now just make this real for yourself. Just shut your eyes. You're aware of your body outline. You're aware of your thoughts. You're aware of the emotional flavor you're feeling in this moment. And sometimes if I don't remind myself, I think this is all I am. The thoughts, the emotions, the body sensations. हम सोचते हैं कि हम सिर्फ हमारे ख्याल, हमारे फीलिंग्स, हमारे बॉडी है, पर उसके पीछे बहुत कुछ है. And that is called the ocean behind which we are not conscious of. So just give it a thought that right now there are these beautiful reaches of my being which are fully conscious of the surface me, but which I'm not conscious of, which are supporting the surface being from behind so skillfully, so faithfully, so constantly. The ocean and the stream, which is the title of today's talk. Just 3 breaths, contemplate this infinite more that I am than what is visible to my seeing. And that can bring so much relief, because what I see of myself is so ill-equipped. हमारे जो अंश हमें नज़र आते हैं वो कितने छोटे लगते हैं. ऐसा लगता है कि इससे हम सर्वाइव ही नहीं कर पाएंगे. But behind all that, उसके पीछे हम जो है वो इतना विशाल है कि वो सब कुछ कर रहा है और करता है. तो जो हमें नज़र आता है वो सिर्फ एक नदी है, पर उस नदी के पीछे एक विशाल सागर है जो उस नदी को हर पल संभालता है. और वो सागर भी मैं हूँ, नदी भी मैं हूँ. मेरा जो अंश मुझे नज़र आता है वो नदी है, जो अंश मेरे लिए अदृश्य है वो विशाल सागर है. Then slowly open your eyes. So now we come to Savitri on the next page. You don't have the PDFs. Do you have it? Maybe you could share it. Okay. So the words are, sorry? This bodily appearance is not all. So this lines from Savitri also say that this bodily appearance जो हमें दिखता है वो बिल्कुल सब कुछ नहीं है. This bodily appearance is not all. The form deceives, the person is a mask. Your form deceives you, the person is a mask. Hid deep in man, celestial powers can dwell. हमारे अंदर बहुत विशाल पावर्स है जो हम टच में नहीं हैं उनके. His fragile ship conveys through the sea of years, an incognito of the imperishable. Whatever we appear, the नदी जो हम हैं, वो एक नाव की तरह है जो समय के दरिये में ऐसे जाते हैं जैसे कोई उन्हें recognize नहीं करे. Incognito is a person who travels hidden, can't be seen, his identity is concealed. His fragile ship conveys through the sea of years, an incognito of the imperishable. Look at the play of words. He calls it fragile ship, but this is imperishable. Each of us is a fragile ship conveying through the sea of years, an incognito of the imperishable. A spirit that is a flame of God abides, a fiery portion of the wonderful, artist of his own beauty and delight, immortal in our mortal poverty. So a spirit that is a flame of God, a fiery portion, because the psychic being जो हमारे अंदर भगवान का तत्व है उसे psychic being कहती है माँ. Its presiding element is Agni, fire, because it's always full of a aspiration. So it's a fiery portion of the wonderful, artist of his own beauty and delight. This sea is the artist of this stream that each of us is. So he's the artist of his own beauty and delight. Immortal in our mortal poverty. The stream is in a state of mortal poverty. हम जो दिखते हैं वो हमारे मन में गरीब है. पैसों का गरीब नहीं necessarily, but poor in consciousness, poor in various things. But this which is within us, it's immortal in our mortal poverty. वो infinite है, तो time में भी वो बहुत अमीर है और हर तरह से बहुत अमीर है. Immortal in our mortal poverty. This sculptor of the forms of the infinite, this screened, unrecognized inhabitant, initiate of his own veiled mysteries. So the ocean which is within us is the screened, unrecognized inhabitant. It's within us, but we don't know it. It's the hidden, unrecognized inhabitant. Initiate of his own veiled mysteries. So this ocean sculpts the stream that we are moment to moment. So we feel we are doing, but we are really the done. From behind this ocean self is that all the time molding us, creating us, generating our thoughts, generating our feelings, but we have the illusion that we are doing it. This sculptor of the forms of the infinite, this screened, unrecognized inhabitant, initiate of his own veiled mysteries. So initiate means one who initiates. So he initiates his own veiled mysteries. What are the mysteries? Well, all the ups and downs of our life, some things which we feel, why did it happen? How did it happen? These are the mysteries we have. But the ocean self that we are is the initiate of its own veiled mystery, because the stream is also the ocean, na? So it's creating these mysteries for itself as part of its own larger plan. So initiate of his own veiled mysteries, hides in a dumb seed his cosmic thought. So dumb seed is, here it means an ignorant seed. The ignorant seed is our thoughts, our emotions, which are sowing seeds for the tree of evolution to flower. Whatever we go through is part of the evolutionary plan, but it's a dumb seed. The seed doesn't know the kind of tree it's going to blossom into, the flower it's going to yield. So right now it's a dumb seed. But the ocean already knows the flower that it's going to grow into, and it guides it through the whole process in its own way. It hides in a small dumb seed his cosmic thought, in the mute strength of the occult idea, determining predestined shape and act, in the mute strength, in the quiet strength of a hidden idea, the ocean determines predestined shape and act. The ocean decides what's going to happen to the stream. Passenger from life to life, from scale to scale, changing his image self from form to form. Each birth, you take a different form. So, who's the passenger? We started with the form deceives, the person's a mask, hid deep in men, celestial power can dwell. His fragile ship conveys through the sea of years an incognito of the imperishable. A spirit that's a flame of God abides. So this spirit, which is a flame of God, is the passenger from life to life. The psychic being within us is the passenger from life to life, from scale to scale, from one rung of evolution to the next rung, changing his image self from form to form. This birth I could be a king, next birth that same ocean which made me a king may make me a watchman, who knows. But whatever my soul needs to experience for my growth, the ocean will secrete me as that. So actually it's when we say unfortunate or unfortunate, we are saying it in complete ignorance, because the same hand, Sri Aurobindo says so beautifully, the same hand that hurls Jupiter into space spends all its cunning fashioning the curl of a hand. Jupiter, Mangal जो planet है शीला, वो सबसे विशाल planet है. तो श्री अरबिंदो कहते हैं कि जो भगवान का हैंड जुपिटर को स्पेस में डालता है, वो अपनी पूरी बुद्धि एक कर्ल को फैशन करने के लिए उतना ही स्पेंड करता है. So that ocean invests as much of itself to make a king and as much of itself to make a beggar. Sri Aurobindo so beautifully in Life Divine writes that the strength that goes into making the strong man strong is no bit different from the strength that goes into making the weak man weak. So it's not that we are outcasts of grace when we go through troubled times, because the same hand that's giving fortune with all its love to somebody is giving us misfortune with as much love, because he knows what the misfortune is leading to. In our mind, good, bad is always there, but in his mind, everything is good. So, in fact, all week in our classes, we've been doing the Bhadram chant. That's really what this is all about. So, in the Prashna Upanishad, there's a beautiful line. It's the Shanti mantra of the Prashna Upanishad. Bhadram karne bhi Shrinuyama Devaha. So the Rishi is praying, the Rishi who wrote this is praying to God that, oh God, give me that kind of listening. Shrinuyam is listening, Karna is ears. Give me that kind of listening that with my hearing I hear only good and auspicious. Now how can that happen? Because I'm listening to life through my thoughts, right? My thoughts are constantly saying this is good, this is bad. So how can I hear every footfall of life as auspicious and good? So that's the Rishi's prayer, that somehow free me from listening to my thoughts, which are constantly painting this is good, that is bad, and give me that inner listening that receives everything that comes as good and good alone. So, in the Gita, Krishna tells Arjun that a true devotee of mine is one who is in a constant state of Shubh, Ashubh, Parityagi. Shubh is fortunate, Ashubh is unfortunate, Pari is fully, Tyagi is renounced. So, one who has given up the distinction between fortunate and unfortunate and receives everything that comes to him as fortunate and fortunate alone, because he knows it's coming through me. He knows the ocean is putting whatever it needs to in the way of the stream that he is, and so he will not say anything's unfortunate. Everything is fortunate. And so beautiful. In Janina's book, Janina was a devotee of the mother who came in the mother's time, and the mother had put her in charge of the nursing home. And one day there was a huge storm and everything was pell-mell in her nursing home. There was a big mess. And somebody who visited her the next day said that, "Oh Janina, look what's happened." And the person said Janina had a radiant smile on her face, and she said, "But all this is happening in the body of the Lord." So never mind that she'd have to clean up and things were broken and all, but she never lost the thought that even this is happening in the body of the Lord, so it's good. It can't be anything but good. So we cannot really come to this so long as we are believing our thoughts. See, that girl I started talking with about at the beginning, she so completely believes her thought that if her thought tells her she's this, nothing in her can believe that she can't be this. We may not be that extreme, but if the thought tells me, "Oh, this person's really terrible in my life," or "this is very bad," I don't have somehow that vigilance or the awareness to see through and say it's only a thought. It's not real, it's not true. Because if you really look at thoughts, thoughts are like dreams you're having in a waking state, no? They are as insubstantial. They are never really telling you the truth about the future or even recollecting the past very correctly or seeing the past through your lens. So lots of things could have happened in the past which a person intended quite differently, but in your memory they are held in this way. So your thoughts aren't recollecting the past correctly, nor are they making predictions about the future accurately. So whatever you're thinking about the past or the future is necessarily erroneous. Sri Aurobindo says that your mind isn't only an instrument of truth consciousness. You'll never know the truth through thoughts. So he says, this light comes not by struggle or by thought. This awareness of Bhadram cannot come by struggle or thought. In the mind's silence, the transcendent acts, and the hushed heart hears the unuttered word. One aspect of the unuttered word is this knowing inside that everything is only good and beautiful. So there's a beautiful Sanskrit adage, Shraddhavan Jnanam Labhyate. Those who are filled with faith, this Kalyan Shraddha, that everything is good and good alone, their faith ripens into knowledge. They know that this is true. Earlier they take it on belief, but eventually that faith becomes a knowing inside. The Shraddha translates to Gyan. Then you don't have to believe because my Guru says or I've read. It just becomes a reality that I'm living. So that's what the chant was. Bhadram karnevi shrinyama devaha. Oh God, give me that inner listening that I can receive every footfall of life as auspicious as Bhadram. And the next line is Bhadram Pashe Maksha Bhirya Jatraha. Pasha is to see, Aksha is eyes. With my eyes, give me that inner seeing that I see every unfolding of life as good and good alone. So, if you see on your PDF, we've given you this picture. This is, all of you can see this, or it's too far away? So this is a giant on a mountain top. When he looks down, he sees this landscape. But if there's a girl our size poised on the giant's hand and she looks down, she sees quite a different landscape. Now, if this girl sees this and tries to imagine what the whole landscape is, her imagination will tell her some things, but it will never really be. I don't think any one of us who sees this from the mountain top will figure out that the whole landscape adds up to this, right? So when we see reality through our thoughts, we are seeing this bit of it because our vision is small. And however intelligent we are, we will never see the whole pattern. If we have the giant's vision is the God vision, the vision of the ocean. The stream will only see this and imagine what it could be. But the ocean will see this whole thing. And it will, when he sees the whole thing, he'll see that everything is perfectly in its place. Just now in this room, somebody may be here feeling very happy. Suppose Isha is very happy, she's looking at the landscape of this moment as happiness. Suppose somebody else is unhappy because something else has happened, that pocket is unhappy. But the giant who's looking at all this is seeing the interplay of her happiness with her unhappiness. You know the Pratitya Samutpad of the Buddha? This is because that is. Everything is codependent origination. So that pocket of happiness there is somehow maybe interacting with this pocket of unhappiness here in the realm of the ocean, in the waters of the ocean. He's a stream there, she's a stream here. They are interconnected by an invisible ocean. Now, if he is unhappy there, he's thinking this moment is bad. She's happy here, she's thinking this moment is good. But the stream that is making him and her one is somehow collating his unhappiness, her happiness, to eventually lead everything to its eventual good. So if the giant is seeing that action of the ocean, he can't say anything is bad. He'll say everything is just as it needs to be. It's all leading to an eventual good. That line from Savitri, whether it seem good or evil to men's eyes, only for good the secret will can work. So that is Bhadra. So we come back to Savitri. In the mute strength of the occult idea, determining predestined shape and act, passenger from life to life, from scale to scale, changing his image self from form to form. He regards the icon growing by his gaze. So this spirit that's a flame of God within all of us regards the icon, the giant idol, growing by his gaze. He sees, the ocean is seeing the stream struggling but is nonplussed because it knows that every struggle of the stream is legitimate and valid and it's going to lead to something. He regards the icon growing by his gaze, and in the worm foresees the coming God. And in the worm foresees the coming God. We look at a worm and say creepy, crawly, ugly, whatever. But the master, the ocean, will always see the butterfly in the worm. And if we look at the ugliness of the worm and crush it, we are not giving it a chance to become a butterfly, right? So we may not actually crush a worm, but whenever we are judging anything as bad, metaphorically in our mind we are crushing the worm, we are writing it off. But to see the worm and look beyond it to the butterfly which hides in it as a potential, that is really the vision of God. That's the vision of Bhadram, that you look ugly, but you're God, and because I see God in you, you are beautiful. So with that vision, everything becomes beautiful to our seeing. There's that beautiful saying, no, if you can't see beauty, look again with eyes that are beautiful. Look again with eyes that see Bhadram instead of bad, 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 or even the excesses of very beautiful will sometimes disappoint us, because what's very beautiful and very pleasing to us today will tomorrow change. Then as attached I am to its beautiful form today, I'll be that dejected when it changes form. So everything is going so excited because very good, or recoiling because very bad. These are two extremes. Bhadram is actually a transcendent neutral. It's about both these, and it's just placidly seeing everything as a play of God and saying it's all good. I'm not going to be perturbed. So this is another beautiful, one of my favorites actually, from Letters on Yoga by Sri Aurobindo, where he says, the significance of the lotus is not to be found by analyzing the secrets of the mud from which it grows here. Its secret is to be found in the heavenly archetype of the lotus that blooms forever in the light above. So he's saying that we see a lotus, एक कमल देखते हैं, and we think its secret is in the mud from which it grows. The mud is the subconscient, all the darknesses in our life. But he's saying that the secret is not in the mud from which it grows. Its secret is in the archetype of the lotus which forever blooms in the sky about. The secret of this stream is not in the mud over which it flows. Its secret is in the ocean, which is its real self. So the archetype of the lotus is the ocean self that we really are. We come back to Savitri. A long, dim preparation is man's life. A circle of toil and hope and war and peace, tracked out by life on matters obscure ground. In his climb to a peak no feet have ever trod, he seeks through a penumbra shot with flame. A penumbra is a half-lit shadow. Like there are shadows which are completely dark, and a light shadow is a penumbra. So a penumbra shot with flame. So penumbra here represents the dark, little dark passages of our life. But every darkness is actually fully permeated by the light. Just the way every bit of the stream is actually fully permeated by the ocean. So Sri Aurobindo says that darkness doesn't exist. Darkness is just a limitation of our senses. Because our senses can't see the light which is hidden in the darkness, we call it dark. हम अंधकार में ज्योति देख नहीं पाते हैं with our physical eyes, तो हम सोचते हैं अंधकार है. But Sri Aurobindo says अंधकार जैसा कुछ है ही नहीं, क्योंकि हर अंधकार में एक छिपी हुई ज्योति होती है. So darknesses are the rough patches of our life, but because every rough patch is carried and secreted really by light, it's not dark, it's full of light which is invisible to our seeing. So, he seeks through a penumbra shot with flame, a veiled reality, half known, ever missed. This veiled reality is our ocean self, which is half known, for most of us not even half known, ever missed, we are not conscious of it. A veiled reality, half known, ever missed. A search for something or someone never found. Cult of an ideal never made real here. An endless spiral of ascent and fall. So that's our life, an endless spiral of rising up and falling down. until at last is reached the giant point through which His glory shines, for whom we were made, and we break into the infinity of God. So this passage in Savitri is describing the windings the stream takes, but finally every stream is destined to discover its ocean self, until at last is reached the giant point through which His glory shines, for whom we were made, and we break into the infinity of God. Now this is Life Divine again. The conquest of our constitutional ignorance cannot be complete, cannot become integrally dynamic if we have not conquered our psychological ignorance. For the two are bound up together. So he says, constitutional ignorance is the vidya we live with, and we cannot really conquer it till we conquer our psychological ignorance. So, till at least in our thought, we fully disbelieve that what our thoughts are telling us about us is us. So we have to really be vigilant with thought and really know that whatever thought is telling me about myself is not true. There's that beautiful line in the movie Peaceful Warrior where Socrates tells Dan that your thoughts don't tell you more about yourself than the freckle on your nose. You look at the freckle on your nose, is it going to tell you who you are? Not at all, right? And it's true, your thoughts really don't tell you more about yourself, samajh mein aa raha hai, than the freckle on your nose. So our psychological ignorance consists in a limitation of our self-knowledge to that little wave or superficial stream of our being, which is the conscient waking self. So when we limit our self-knowledge to knowing just what we know through our thoughts, emotions and body, that's psychological ignorance. This part of our being is an original flux changing of formless or only half-formulated movements carried on in an automatic continuity. So beautiful if you get it. I don't know how to explain it also, I'll just read it again, see if you get it. This part of our being is an original flux is change, of formless or only half-formulated movements carried on in an automatic continuity, supported and held together by an active surface memory and a passive underlying consciousness in its flow from moment to moment of time. Let's pause and explore this together. Any idea, anyone, on what this could mean? Yeah?
I think it means that this ocean which you spoke about, like a stream, these are just forming these part waves. It's just a half, like they say, the half movement. So it's just the play of the ocean and the stream causing these movements, and so we kind of surface for a while as what we are. But then, like the archetype is the ocean.
Yes.
So the totality is like the lotus example.
Yes.
So we need to keep that in mind all the time.
Yes.
Because otherwise the movements will always be just half.
Yes.
And if we look there, then we will never know that we are ocean.
Yes. Yes. What's your name?
My name is Shivani.
Yes.
Keep talking about that atoms theory, that
Yes.
thinking in and
Quantum
out.
physics.
So beautifully puts it like this: our personality, what we call our personality, when we go to sleep, it doesn't exist. There's no conscious realization of it. Then we wake up, in a few seconds, in a zap, we have these memories, thoughts, I am this, I am that. So every day when you think about it, it's actually a cut. You feel you're conscious for those 12-13 hours, you sleep, you are completely lost, there's no existential realization of who you are. wake up, you again have that existential realization. It's like that state, it's talking about states, like almost like you're conscious, when you sleep you go to that subconscious, unconscious state, and there that identity, everything is lost. It's like almost everything dissipates within a minute in your sleep, and then when you wake up, everything just comes back together.
Yes.
So it's like moving from those states of consciousness, subconscious, unconscious, back to unconscious, subconscious, conscious.
Yes.
That's how I perceive it.
Yes, yes. So basically, we know ourselves through our thoughts, feelings, and emotions. But the Buddha's anicca, impermanence, anitya. Everything is changing. We won't go into quantum physics today, but we've gone into that earlier, where we know that everything we are calling solid is actually energy blinking in and out of existence millions of times in a second. So that's what he calls the surface flux. So he says that this part of our being is an original flux, a change of formless or only half formulated movements carried on in an automatic continuity. I love this word. Automatic continuity. We think we are thinking thoughts, but thoughts are like a software program in our head. Just like every thought is the sum total of every thought we've thought in the past. It's secreting it, so it's automated. It's not that we are creating the thought in the moment, it's automated. Automatic continuity supported and held together by an active surface memory and a passive underlying consciousness. So I have a memory of myself. So, and there's a passive underlying consciousness in its flow from moment to moment of time, organized and interpreted by our reason. So, a thought will come, I'll really believe it, and then I'll organize and interpret it with my reason, and that's how judgment will come. Good, bad will come when my reason steps in. And our witnessing and participating intelligence. Behind it is an occult existence. Behind this automation of thought, there is an occult existence and energy of our secret being, without which the superficial consciousness and activity could not have existed or acted. If there wasn't this ocean in the background, this surface thinking, feeling, identification with who I am would just not have happened. Yes?
So the interesting thing I read about patients with amnesia, even though they lose all their memories, they still realize the fact that they are human, that there is a God and that I exist.
If they believe in God.
If they believe in God. So all these three things, strangely, they don't start quacking like a duck. Even though they've lost their memory and previous knowledge, there's yet an identifying consciousness. That's what puzzles them. Because scientists can't understand. The brain is wiped out, memories are lost, but yet you identify as a human. You don't bark or you don't start behaving like a fish. There is an identifying consciousness. Then there is an existential knowledge that I exist also.
The aham.
The aham. So
I am.
it's like you move back to the base consciousness. There is an identification.
So they would actually be in a state of bhadram
so
all the time.
I'm just thinking that it sounds
ये
like.
कह रहा है कि अगर किसी की याददाश्त एकदम चले जाए, उसको कुछ शब्द कुछ भी याद नहीं है, तो भी उसे वैज्ञानिकों ने फाइंड आउट किया है कि उसे ये इतना पता है कि मैं हूँ, मैं कौन हूँ नहीं पर मैं हूँ.
And I'm not a dog or a worm or anything. I'm a human being. That existential realization is very strange for them.
Yes.
Why is the flux called original?
Because it's there since the beginning of time. Like Sankhya says, there are two uncaused eternal realities, Purusha and Prakriti.
And the flux is Prakriti.
Yes. Life Divine continued. There arises a knowledge of our being no longer as consciousness dependent on the body, but as an eternal spirit which uses all the worlds and all lives for its various self-experience. So, when we go beyond this ignorance, there arises a knowledge of our being, no longer as a consciousness dependent on our body. हमें ये knowledge आता है कि हम एक तत्व है जो इस शरीर पर ही depend नहीं है, हम शरीर से बहुत ज़्यादा है. But as an eternal spirit which uses all the worlds and all lives for its various self-experience. हम वो आत्मा है जो पूरे संसार को अपने अनुभव के लिए उपयोग करता है. So no longer as a consciousness dependent on the body, but as an eternal spirit which uses all the worlds and all lives for various self-experience. We see it to be a spiritual entity possessed of a continuous soul life, perpetually developing its activities through successive physical existences. A being determining its own becoming. So beautiful. So this spirit, which is using all experiences for its purposes, is a being which determines its becoming. वो आत्मा decide करती है कि क्या बनना चाहती है इसमें. So a being that determines its becoming. In that knowledge, not ideative but felt in our very substance, it becomes possible to live not as slaves of a blind karmic impulsion, but as masters, subject only to the divine within us, of our being and nature. So when we have that knowledge, what knowledge? There arises a knowledge of our being, a being which is beyond the body, a being which is constantly secreting its own becoming. When that knowledge arises inside us, it becomes possible to live not as slaves of a blind karmic impulsion. When are we living as slaves of a blind karmic impulsion?
When we start believing who we are.
When we start believing our thoughts blindly.
Because that's what we identify. If you see that whole question, original question, who am I? You never ask what am I?
Yes.
There's a knowing of something that you are.
Yes.
You don't ask what am I?
Yes.
Because that's another thing I was relating to the amnesia patients, because they will ask who am I?
Yes.
So what am I is there's a felt feeling of you exist. So
Yes.
you know that there is something that makes you up. That's why the atheist.
No, but Nash, we are exploring.
No, so coming back to that question, we become a belief system. That becomes our identity. Our belief system becomes our identity.
So our belief system becomes our identity, but let's take baby steps. Ego is really from lifetimes. It's not going to go like this. But at least let's start with what we can. We can't give away our identity at one go, but we can at least relinquish thought. We can at least neutralize each thought that comes. We can at least look at it and say, this is not me, this is not real. So, very beautiful in Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, he gives 3 effects of a very good yoga practice. For your information, Sutra 2.28, he says impurities are destroyed. That is, impurities of anger, jealousy, whatever. Gyan diptira, so ashuddhi shaye, impurities are destroyed. Gyan diptira, the light of intuitive knowledge arises. And the third is avivekhyate. You have a constant recognition of being able to discriminate what appears to be real and what is real. So he's saying as you go deeper into yoga, that becomes your natural experience, that a thought comes and avivekhyate arises. You're able to say, no, you're not real, I'm not buying into you. Not articulated like that, but you just look at it and say, you're not real. I'm not going to let you capture my mind state.
What's avivekhyate?
This constant discrimination to know what is real from what appears to be real. So if I get a thought, you get what I'm saying.
But you said there are three
Yeah.
ways to do that. So one of the
Three?
Chitta Shuddhi, for the Chitta Shuddhi, you said there are three methods.
Not three methods. This sutra describes the outcomes of a good yoga practice. First outcome is impurities are destroyed. Second outcome is the light of intuitive knowing. Intuition becomes sharper. You intuit the truth rather than thinking it out. And the third is there's a constant discrimination between what is real and what's appearing to be real. For the ego is a falsification of our true individuality by the limiting self-identification of it with this life, mind, this body. So, ego is a falsification of our true individuality. What Nash was saying, the aham, I exist, is our true individuality. But I am Anahita becomes the ego. It's a falsification of our true individuality by a limiting self-identification. So beautiful Sanskrit. Aham is I. Akar is the form the I takes. The Shuddh Aham is formless, right? But when it becomes Ahankar, it takes a form of I-ness, me-ness. So, for the ego is a falsification of our true individuality by a limiting self-identification of it with this life, this mind, this body. It is a separation from other souls which shuts us up in our own individual experience and prevents us from living as a universal individual. So beautiful. We are shut up in our individual experience because of the ego. The ego prevents us from living as a universal individual. Look at his play of words. You wouldn't think of putting universal and individual together. But we are that. Each of us is a universal individual. We are the cosmos. We are not just this.
So to exist in I-ness is if everyone exists in a state of I-ness and realizing that I-ness, then you become connected to that universal individuality. You realize that the I-ness is the same everywhere. The existence
The
of
I.
Like I exist. Or I itself is the same. Then you will be connected to that I-ness. But when it becomes I am Nash, that's when the distinction
Yes,
comes.
that's
right?
what he's saying. The ego separates you from your universal.
I-ness is different from I amness, right? In that sense.
I-ness is ego. I-ness is asmita.
Asmita.
So I am is not
So
I-ness.
just to be in the state of I would be different from I am.
Yes.
In that sense.
The state of I am would be different from I am Anahita.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to
Yes. Yes. For the ego is a falsification of our true individuality by a limiting self-identification of it with this life, this mind, this body. It is a separation from other souls which shuts us up in our own individual experience and prevents us from living as a universal individual. It is a separation from God, our highest self, who is the one self in all existences and the divine inhabitant within us. Our consciousness changes into the height and depth and wideness of the spirit. The ego can no longer survive there. So that's why Sri Aurobindo in his integral yoga talks of three movements, right? He talks about deepening into the psychic, heightening into the Jivatma, and widening into our cosmic self. So right now we are this stream which is restricted. But if we go high, we can heighten into infinity. If we go deep, there's no end to the depth. It's an infinite depth and it's an infinite width, like a circle without a circumference. So when the ego drops, we discover this three-dimensional infinity that we really are. The brain breaks out of its imprisonment in a separated individuality and becomes universal, assumes a cosmic consciousness in which it identifies itself with the self and the spirit, the life, the mind, the body of all beings. So when the ego drops, we identify ourselves with the self and spirit, the life, the mind and body of all beings. The soul gathers the essence of all our mental, vital and bodily experience and assimilates it for further evolution. That's what we read in the passage from Savitri, that the ocean is at every moment determining the course of the stream, giving it exactly those experiences which it needs for its growth. So the soul is the ocean. The soul gathers the essence of all our mental, vital and bodily experience and assimilates it for the further evolution of our existence in nature. But this action is occult, hidden, not obtruded, visible on the surface. So in Life Divine itself, okay, it's coming now. On this ignorant surface, we become dimly aware of something that can be called a soul, as distinct from mind, life, or body. We feel it not only as a mental idea or vague instinct of ourselves, but as a sensible influence in our life and character and action. A certain sensitive feeling for all that is true and good and beautiful, fine and pure and noble, a response to it. So our surface nature senses the soul as this certain sensitive feeling for all that is true and good and beautiful, fine and pure and noble. A response to it, a demand for it. At first there's a sensitive feeling, we sense it, then we respond to it, and then finally we demand it, we want it in every turn of life. A pressure on mind and life to accept and formulate it in our thought, feelings, conduct. So again there's that beautiful line in Savitri, a beauty is his footprint showing us where he has passed. सौंदर्य भगवान की फुटप्रिंट पदछाप है जिससे हमें पता लगता है कि वो कहाँ कहाँ चले हैं. जहाँ हम सौंदर्य देखते हैं वहाँ भगवान के पदछाप होते हैं. तो beauty is his footprint showing us where he's passed. So we look at something beautiful and we feel something inside us. But actually we are sensing God in that beauty, because and that God is not outside us. When we see that beautiful surface, we sense the beauty inside us because the God is inside us. So it's a reflection of the beauty inside us. And later on, we don't need to see beautiful things to awaken to this beauty. When we are in touch with our psychic being, we are just in touch with the all beautiful all the time. We just feel this beauty. So at first there's a sensitive feeling, we sense it. Then we respond to it. Something beautiful is calling us within. And finally we demand it. We want it all the time. If we don't have it, it makes us unhappy and restless. So, yeah.
So therefore, sometimes if we see something which is not typically beautiful, therefore our response is also then we will keep changing.
Our responses
We will also keep changing depending on how deeply connected we are with the beautiful inside.
If we are not so deeply connected with the beautiful, then our response is more dependent on what our senses report to us. But the more deeply connected we are inside, somehow there's like Janina, she sees her nursing home destroyed, whatever she's put into it, whatever, and she has the vision to just say all this is happening in the body of God. So the more deeply connected you are to the all beautiful, you'll see like everything as all beautiful. a certain sensitive feeling for all that is true and good and beautiful, fine and pure and noble, a response to it, a demand for it, a pressure on mind and life to accept and formulate it in our thought, feelings, conduct, characters most usually recognized, the most general and characteristic, though not the sole sign of this influence of the psychic. So this is a most like the three things: sensitivity towards the good, true and the beautiful, a response to it and a demand for it. That is one of the most sure signs of the psychic influence. It is only when man awakes to knowledge of the soul and feels a need to bring it to the front and make it the master of his life and action that a quicker, conscious method of evolution intervenes. So, Sri Aurobindo is saying that the psychic influence is felt in these ways when there's a sensitivity, a response, and demand for the all beautiful, the all good. But when we awaken to this influence and we feel a need to bring it to the front and make it the master of our life, that is a quicker conscious method of evolution intervenes and the psychic transformation is possible. So if we don't reach out for it, we will grow, but maybe over many, many lifetimes. But if we reach this point where we are in a state of constant demand for it, we want it constantly, then that paves the way for a quicker conscious method of evolution to intervene and a psychic transformation becomes possible. Okay, so this is the PDF. Now let's just sit quietly. Any questions? Anything? Yeah?
No.
Okay. So let's just sit quietly and assimilate what we've discussed. So we started with a passage from Sri Aurobindo's Life Divine, where he describes the surface being as a stream, and we take the stream to be all ourselves. But the truth of us is the ocean that from behind the stream is sourced from, the ocean that determines the becoming of the stream. Sri Aurobindo says, in truth, we are that all-conscious being, that all-conscious ocean that determines its own becoming, the stream. And from behind its veil determines every rise and fall. So beautiful in Savitri, there's that line, the supreme diplomat, the ocean, makes our fall a means for greater rise. Further, he says that this stream is just a flux and flow which is automatically generated like a self-generated software program. This constant stream of thoughts in our mind, this constant movie making in our mind is a self-generated software program. But in our ignorance, we think because there is thought, there is an Anahita here who's thinking the thought. I lose sight of the fact that there is an all-conscious ocean behind this stream of thoughts which is secreting the thought. So to become conscious, at every moment I have to renounce thought, and renounce thought means to renounce judgment, because every thought is more or less an assessment or judgment of something or the other. But if I fully understand that with my thoughts I will never know the truth, because thought just sees a small piece of reality and imagines the whole. So, if I know that no thought I think is accurate or true, I can let it go. I can step into the field of Bhadram, the auspicious, beautifully said by Rumi. Beyond good and bad, there is a field. I will meet you there. Beyond the dualities of thought, there is a field of wisdom which sees that everything is exactly how it should be and smiles the immutable smile. So, a beautiful practice for us would be to link two words to our breath, because our breath is the link between the conscious and subconscious minds. So, every inhalation, if we articulate Om, focusing in our heart soundlessly, and every exhalation we soundlessly articulate Bhadram. Bhadram means auspicious, good. The word for Kalyan Shraddha, faith in the goodness of life. But as we articulate Bhadram, we are not only reinforcing Kalyan Shraddha, but we are renouncing our belief in thoughts. Thought tells me this is bad, but Bhadram tells me don't believe the thought, let it go. It's just that a self-generated movie going on in your mind. It's not the truth, it's not real. So let's just be quiet with our eyes shut, focusing in the heart space. If you like, bring an image of your highest reverence in the heart. Breathing in, articulate Om in the heart. Breathing out, articulate Bhadram. Not mechanically, but every time a thought comes, dissolve it in your breath and these two words. I don't believe the thought. I believe this truth of the immutable smile ever shining in my heart. So let's just be quiet for a minute with this. Connect this mantra to your thought stream. So what can happen is you're saying Om and Bhadram, but thoughts are just going on and there's no link between the two. But link them to every thought that comes. Actually look at it through the smile in the heart, saying Om on the inhalation and Bhadram on the exhalation. Just like we did in our yoga class all through the asanas this morning. This I, which is constantly being generated by thoughts, if thoughts are dreams in a waking state, the I is also just a dream. I am not the dream or the one in the dream. I am the awareness in which this dream is arising. In the dream, there's the dualities of good and bad, fortunate and unfortunate. That's the field of good and bad that Rumi speaks about. But beyond good and bad, there is a the field of awareness of Bhadram. And Rumi promises the seeker, I will meet you there. And let's conclude with the Shanti mantra from the Prashna Upanishad. Most of you know it. So we'll sing just the first two lines ending with Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Let's put a collective aspiration that change my inner listening so that I hear every footfall of life as good, as auspicious as Bhadram. Change my seeing so that I see every unfolding of life as good, as auspicious as Bhadram. Bhadram Parnevi Srinuyam Deva Bhadram Pashimaksha Hiranyatra